Welcome to Why I Love Warhammer, this series where I go into an unscripted ramble about why I love something in this hobby. And on today's episode, it's Leagues of Votann, the Squats, Homo sapien rotundus, as they used to be known, the Space Dwarves. I love the Leagues of Votann. They are, they're good. Really glad they came back to the setting after having been squatted, as the name became, in I believe second edition, which was I got into the game the first time around in fourth edition. So that's the previous squats. They were before my time in this hobby, and I think they are just it's just really good to have them back in the setting. I love dwarves as a fantasy race. I love them in Age of Sigmar. I love both the Archanaut companies and in the Free Cities and in the Cities of Sigmar range. I love them in the Middle Earth strategy battle game. So I love the Ironhead Squat prospectors in Necromunda. So why wouldn't I love them in Warhammer 40,000? They are a proud people, again, like the Tolkienian dwarves, which I think is really good. They've got a really... I love the fact they have this very kind of respectful society. They hate being called squats, but in Necromunda, the same species, they don't mind being called squats. The lore-wise, I love the fact that they're kind of they're business people. They trade. If the Tau come and want to trade, they'll trade with Tau. If the Imperium come to trade, they'll trade with the Imperium. Presumably, if the Drukhari, the Dark Eldar, came to trade, they'd trade with them. It's just very logical. I love the aesthetic of them. The fact that they have they look like kind of space miners. I think that's really cool. And also, they're dwarves. They're short. They're more mini. And as the scale of Warhammer 40,000 grows, I always like seeing a smaller model come back to the range. And also the fact that they became Xenos. I like that. Got a good range of Xenos factions, but the fact that dwarves get to be there, I think, is really good as well. I also like that they seem to fill a niche that Space Marines used to fill, which is Jack of all trades, master of none. Space Marines kind of became a lot more specialised, kind of treading on the Eldar's toes a bit, but the Leagues of Votann, they seem to occupy that old niche again, which I really appreciate. One thing I also love with them, I love the fishbowl helmets. I wish all of them. I wish I could have every model in a box have the fishbowl helmet, because I think those look really cool. I'd do what I did with my Gene Theatre cults. I paint up the fishbowl in nail polish to add that glimmer and sheen. I like that they are. Yeah, I do like that they're kind of meaningfully different from the Imperium as well. I think it could have been very easy for the guys at Warhammer 2 just say, oh yeah, we're going to add these guys into the Guard range or Agents of the Imperium. And the fact they did make them their own faction, I think, is really good. I also love the models that they kind of made homages to the wackier models they used to have. And even though I would say I prefer the wackier ones, I do love what they came up with to kind of replace them. So yeah, from that kind of lore and what they represent side, why I love the Leagues of Votann. Now, the range for the Leagues of Votann isn't huge. So instead of going through all my favourite models, I'm just going to go through all of the models. So here we have your standard Hearthguard, the troop choice, the battle line. They're Space Dwarves. I don't know what more you could want with them, really. I do love these kind of red power swords. It makes for a nice difference makes for a nice contrast between Votann and the Imperium and the Tau and whatnot, because the Tau and the Imperium, everything has to be kind of blue. The Necrons, everything tends to be kind of green. So having these kind of very warm colours, I really like. The kind of I do like the fact that the kind of old men and some grizzled-looking women in there as well. You don't get that as much with the power armored factions. That kind of the mix of men and women. So I think that's interesting. I like that the suits look kind of bulky. It's almost like they're mining suits first, and then they adapt them into armor. I think that's really cool. And yeah, I like the helmets. I think those are cool. The diversity of the weapons I think is really cool. Like the sniper rifle here, the smaller pistol, this tiny knife to the big sword. They're just cool looking sculpts in my opinion. And I mean, I do prefer the kind of red, orange, yellow armor aesthetic because they look like mining suits a bit more. But I don't dislike this color scheme at all. And yeah, just a solid troop to have. This guy in the middle is cool enough. He's a space dwarf. He's got a cool jacket. I've got a coat almost exactly like this. I like this gun. I think that looks cool. I love a good Warhammer. But he has Men of Iron. He has Ironkin. And that is possibly my favourite thing, the Leagues of Votann. It's the Men of Iron. It's that. It's the AI. I always love AI stories with the kind of sentient AI that it kind of comes up and it's how we react to it and the way that manifests differently, be it iRobot, be it Lieutenant Data in Star Trek, be it the Geth in Mass Effect, which is possibly my favourite version of the AI story. I love it. In fact, if I could have had if I could have had a 2,000 point Leagues of Votann army with nothing but Ironkin and land trains, I would have put the money down straight away. Because I just think it's fascinating. I love this guy at the back. I think that's amazing. I like the floaty guys. And yeah, the actual Votann here is cool, but I'm here for the AIs. I'm here for that. That's my favourite thing with the army, to truth be told. Old squats had tricycles. Leagues of Votann have these bikes. I think they're undeniably cool. They've got this kind of old pilot aesthetic to them, the way that the Votann are dressed. I think the models are cool. I like the way they kind of float about while maintaining the tricycle nature of them. They're just fun looking models, and yeah, the guys have really cool poses to them, and yeah, just a completely worthwhile part of the range and just fun. That's what these models are. These models are fun. Okay, next. I think this guy's name is Brock here. It's the Psyker for the Leagues of Votann, which is cool in itself. I love the fact he's standing on these rocks that look really finely balanced. It's like he's using some of that psychic energy to make the rocks float a bit. I love the staff he's got. I do love that kind of thing that comes out the back. I think that's a really cool look. It's got the classic dwarf appearance. But he also has Men of Iron, got some Ironkin behind him. And as we've established, that's what I'm here for. Love them. I love I love the floating gun they've got. I love that they've got the proper flying bases. They're not trying to disguise it by having them just appear to be jumping off something. They're just actual clear plastic. I think they look really cool. If this weren't a named character, I'd run 3. Chthonian Berserkers, again, they've got another Ironkin here. I think they look cool. They've got it adds some much needed variation to the army. You know, they're still dwarves, but they're bigger, they're musclier, they're charging into melee combat. I think that's really cool. And I just really enjoy the look of them. I think, you know, these kind of the cables going into them, it's a bit like Bane and DC and Venom pumped in to make him stronger. That's the vibe I get. And I love the weapons, these huge, burly axes. I think that's really cool. Dwarves and axes go hand in hand beautifully. And yeah, these guys just look really awesome. Shows a range of skin tones as well, which is always nice. Kind of paint your army the way you want them to look, not the way the box art tells you they should look. And they're such dynamic poses as well. I love this guy charging in. This guy with the 2 power fists. He's ready to rumble. Glorious. Friggin' love these guys. Chthonian Berserkers. These guys also awesome. Just big, chunky Terminator equivalents. Got the blade on the back of the hand, like they're, you know, like in later Assassin's Creed games. They got the guns. Big, stompy, glorious. Glorious, glorious, glorious. Love things that are big and stompy. Carl, I love that bronze helmet. I think that looks really cool. It's got the thing coming up the back that I think looks really good as well. It's just a really nice unifying aesthetic. I'm a sucker for the power fists, and he's pointing, he's clearly in charge. And also, he's standing on 2 rocks. It gives him some elevation, makes him look important. Brilliant model, brilliant sculpt. Love his placement. Another named character. This guy is doing the thing where he's kind of jumping off a rock a bit. But again, it's a cool looking sculpt. I love the guns on the back of the fists. I think that's against the Geneva Convention, but Warhammer 40,000 does not care for the Geneva Convention. And again, big Warhammer. It's always nice when Warhammer has a hammer of war. Again, big chunky guy. Brilliant. Again, another named character. Really cool sword. I love the warm colours. I love the crackling effect. Damn fine sculpt. I enjoy the bears here as well. Don't know why the Votann would know what bears are, but here we are. Again, also cool. Big, chunky, kind of World War II pilot aesthetic. World War I pilot aesthetic. Kind of bit mech suitish. Looks a little bit like the suit that Ripley stands in at the end of Aliens. Cool gun. That this one here looks a bit like the Necron Immortal Tesla Carbine, I think it's called. It's a really cool gun. I like how these guys are kind of wearing stilts as well. Give them some more height, but in a way that doesn't change the height of the organism, as it were. Just a really cool sculpt. Okay, the Saga Tower, I think they're really cool. I'm a huge sucker for clear plastic on a model because it kind of encourages sub-assemblies and adds depth to the model. I'm sure there are people who prefer just to paint over the whole thing, give it some kind of chrome or metallic sheen. Respect there. It's a cool way of doing it. For me personally, I like the sub-assembly nature of them, and it feels cool to me to kind of, at the end, just glue that final piece in place. Glorious. And as a transport, I think it looks neat. It's, you know, a bit like a dune buggy. And I mean that with respect. I mean that with reverence. I think it's a really cool model, and I'm glad it's there. You know, troop transports are useful, definitely, especially when they're dwarves who aren't going to be moving that quickly. I know the short legs of a sprinter, but that's just not how mechanically it ever manifests in this game. So troop transports are good, and I think this is a really cool job of it. I love the Hecaton Land Fortress. I feel like I love what it could have been more. I think it's a cool, bulky vehicle. I love how it looks. It's kind of, you know, dune buggy like the Saga Tower. It's got the clear plastic that I love as well. It's got a cool frame. It looks very believable. You can imagine this thing traversing a planet. You can imagine this thing kind of scouting out places to begin mining. I do kind of wish they'd given us the squat land train. At time of recording, it's not been that long since we had the 2023 World Championships reveal show. I was kind of hoping we'd get a squat land train, a Votann land train there. We didn't. And I do love that land train. I love the aesthetic of it. Again, land trains and Ironkin. I would have snapped that army up in a heartbeat. As it stands, we have the Hecaton Land Fortress. And I do love the Hecaton Land Fortress. I do think it's awesome. I just kind of love what it could have been more. But yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of the video. Why do I love the Leagues of Votann? AI plus Space Dwarves. What's not to love? They're a new Xenos army, relatively speaking. Really happy they're in the range. Really happy they're part of the universe. And I love the culture around them and what they represent for the hobby. That's all for today. If you want to drop me a like, that'd be brilliant. If you want to subscribe, glad to have you aboard. If you want to leave a comment, correcting anything I got wrong, please do. And do you love the Hecton Land Fortress or the Land Train more? Which is your favourite? Do you prefer the tricycles or the more modern hoverbikes? Drop me a comment, that'd be great. If you want to share this around, be amazing as well. And I've got a link to the Patreon in the description. If you want to throw anything my way, that'll be brilliant as well. With that, I hope you're having a really good day, and I will see you next time.